day that we call Good Friday, I invite you to hear some words that we find in the 19th chapter of the Gospel according to John. There they crucified Jesus, and with him 2 others, one on either side, with Jesus between them. Pilate also had an inscription written and put on the cross. It read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." Many of the Jews read this inscription because the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and it was written in Hebrew, in Latin, and in Greek. Then the chief priests of the Jews said to Pilate, "Do not write, the King of the Jews, but rather, this man said, I am King of the Jews." Pilate answered, "What I have written, I have written." When the soldiers had crucified Jesus, they took his clothes and divided them into 4 parts, one for each soldier. They also took his tunic. Now the tunic was seamless, woven in one piece from the top. So they said to one another, "Let us not tear it, but cast lots for it to see who will get it." This was to fulfill what the scripture says, "They divided my clothes among themselves, and for my clothing they cast lots." And that is what the soldiers did. Meanwhile, standing near the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing beside her, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that hour the disciple took her into his own home. After this, when Jesus knew that all was now finished, he said, in order to fulfill the scriptures, "I am thirsty." A jar full of sour wine was standing there. So they put a sponge full of the wine on a branch of hyssop and held it to his mouth. When Jesus finished the wine, he said, "It is finished." Then he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. When Jesus had received the wine, the scripture records that he said, "It is finished." And it was. He was dead. His unimaginable suffering had ended. His obedience was fully accomplished. That day, the grief of his friends and family who were standing around the cross must have been overwhelming. The injustice of it all must have been crushing to those who were at the foot of the cross who loved Jesus. He was really and truly dead. Period. Full stop. Just before his death, when Jesus looked down from the cross, he saw his mother and a disciple that he loved standing together. And he said to his mother, "Woman, this is your son." And he said to the beloved disciple, "Son, this is your mother." When Jesus looked down from the cross that day, surely he also saw people standing there who had done their best to love him, as well as those who had done their best to end his life. Surely he saw people who had great hope for what he might do, and those who wished they could have stamped his life out sooner. He saw standing there, I suspect, people who had perpetrated injustice, as well as those who simply had stood idly by and watched. I wonder, had we been standing there, where would we have been standing? What would he have seen in us? Where were we among that crowd? I'll close today's devotion with a poem written in 2011 by a poet named Andy Stinson. It is entitled, At the Cross. I wait, and time ticks past. I gaze, made silent by the sight. I watch as soldiers meticulously move, executing each terrible, torturous task. I gasp, still life lingers in his fragile, broken form. I flinch as blow by blow, nails bite deep through flesh to find wood. I stand as he is lifted high, silhouetted against the sky which he has made. I weep as his cry echoes deep in my hardened, calloused heart. I wail as he screams, it is complete, finished, final, said and done. I fall as the sky turns inky black and the sun and moon and stars forget to shine. I kneel as worlds collide and time ticks by. What once bound no longer seems to hold. I bow, for part of me is gone, kept forever on Calvary's painful peak. I wait at the foot of the cross to begin my journey home.